So they can, and then you have the rest of these young cats, 22, 23, 24 years old, looking hungry. I'm talking about hungry like in the desert. I ain't got nothing to eat. I ain't got nothing
hungry?
You know what I'm saying? You got them, and you got these two KG, you got these army veterans that are in the rotation telling these cats about, look, you know, they may come to them and say, look, you need to take advantage of this opportunity because we all know you can only go to the finals maybe one time out your whole career, and that can be it. Take advantage of this particular opportunity. So in that realm, I think that Oklahoma City has another up on Miami. Also, after you get past quote-unquote the big three, LeBron James, D-Wade, Chris Bosh, I guess after that you would say maybe Mario Chalmers. Now, you take OKC, you have Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and you have Harden coming off the bench, but also you have Serge Ibaka. All right? I mean, you have, like I stated earlier, Derek Fisher. Their bench is better than Miami's bench. Rube, you made mention to Shane Battier. If you really look at the whole series, Shane Battier, he plays like crap on the road. Right? The Chris Bosh hitting three-pointers, listen, I guarantee if he shoots 3 threes tonight, I guarantee he may hit one. If he was to do that. I was thinking about the matchup tonight. More people are talking about Russell Westbrook maybe playing Dwayne Wade, but I think it will be to Oklahoma City's advantage if they allow Cabo Cephalosha to play against Dwayne Wade, because you're not really going to Cephalosha for a lot of points. Whatever you get out of him, you know, whether it be double figures, that's a plus to Oklahoma City. But now you have somebody, Cabo Cephalosha, that can focus in on Dwayne Wade and cut down on a lot of the things that Dwayne Wade is used to doing, and now that allows Russell Westbrook to play Mario Chalmers, and I would say Mario Chalmers is not as big of a threat to Oklahoma City as Dwayne Wade would be. You have Kevin Durant, who's basically playing out of this world. We all talked about it, you know, would you have been wrong to have Kevin Durant as the MVP? He's the scoring leader. Basically, he gets any shot that he wants. And similar to what you said, Rube, about LeBron James taking over Game 6, and you said you hadn't seen that for 2 to 3 years or whatever. My recollection was I haven't seen him play a game like that since he played in Cleveland against Detroit. You had seen Kevin Durant do that more than one time this whole postseason. So that right there, just a number of those things, I think that OKC will win. And here's another thing that nobody talks about. You know how Ruby was talking about Kobe Bryant Kobe Bryant trying to get 6 rings above Michael Jordan or whatever? Do we all realize that if Derek Fisher was to win the championship this year, he would have won 6 rings? Nobody's really talking about that.
No, I realize that, and I try to refrain from talking about that.
Without Kobe and without Shaq.
Yeah, I try to refrain from talking about that because, unfortunately, I see where that's going to go.
It could be, honestly, except for going to different teams, he could be another version of Robert Horry. He hits big shots. Yeah. He hits big shots, and he just happens to be on some championship teams. Now, granted, the majority of them, all of them basically, were under L.A., but if he was to go to OKC, who's going to have the last laugh?
Well, you know, Derek Fisher is a man who's made his way around the league and seems to turn up in the right places, similar to how Robert Horry did. But I understand where you're going with it. I'll just go ahead and make my point real quick, and then we're going to wrap up this segment. Basically, I look at this series, as I kind of set it up earlier, as the big three versus the big three. To me, that kind of washes. What you're left with is a veteran presence, and we also left with the benches. Veteran presence, I mean, in OKC with a guy like Derek Fisher, so you stole a little bit of my thunder. I'm not quite sure what the bench in Miami is going to do simply because they don't seem to play, with the exception of somebody like Mike Miller, who's probably going to be retired at the end of this season, with the exception of somebody like Shane Battier, who I think has been starting. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I'm not real sure how deep Miami's going to go. Maybe they go 6, 7, maybe 8, if that deep. You know, whereas I think Oklahoma City can go deeper and they're younger. I see Oklahoma winning this in 6. I see LeBron and the fellas waiting at least another year before they actually get that ring. Dub, what do you think?
I think you're on point. Another thing that I forgot to throw out there, coaching. I personally think that Scott Brooks, situational wise, he will well, to be honest with you, there's been a number of questions and obviously Scott Brooks. I mean, we looked at Oklahoma City beat San Antonio 4 straight games. After game 2, people were saying that Oklahoma City was going home and they were going to stay home. You know, and he made these little adjustments to the team in order to take the opportunity of using a lot of what he had to his advantage. Also, let's not discount, you know, the front line of Oklahoma City. You get Joel Anthony, maybe Haslam, and that's pretty much it. But I can go to Ibaka, we could go to Kendrick Perkins, we could go to his name escapes me right now, a kid that came from Kansas, Caucasian cat that comes off of the bench. They have a lot.
Yeah, I know you're Collison.
You know, they have that front line, and just from the bench is way better than my Oklahoma City in 6. I rest my case.
Carlton Banks.
Miami in 5.
Carlton Banks.
Carlton Banks has lost his mind.
You the one that picked old boy too, that won the Pacquiao fight.
I sure did. You didn't know?
Wow.
I was over in the front row.
Wow, he's
You
killing.
need to tell me what tomorrow numbers gonna be then.
First of all, if Miami wins, I can almost guarantee you it won't be in 5. And I don't even see them winning. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't particularly care for the 2-3-2 format. I would much prefer 2-1-1-1. But, you know, it is what it is. But like we said before, OKC they haven't lost a game, you know, at home in the playoffs yet. And, you know, that arena gets real crazy, yo.
Yes, it does.
The fans, they come out for that team.
That's the only thing there.
Oh,
They're the equivalent of, let's say, a college atmosphere compared to the cheese and crackers arena down in Miami where these guys show up late. Right now, I guarantee it's 7:56. I guarantee that the arena at Oklahoma City right now is damn near packed.
Insane.
I'm sure,
Oh, you know it is.
I'm sure it is. And, you know, those people come out, you know, they got a young team. I think, you know, the core of the team, I think the oldest player in the core is 23. So as long as they manage their money right, that team should be together for a long time. So I look forward to seeing what OKC does. You could be watching, you know, a preview of the next 4 or 5 finals. Maybe 5 in the next 5 years, you might see them play against each other maybe 2 or 3 times, very similar to how the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers were in the 80s. Between 1980 and 1992, you had the Lakers or the Celtics, either one or the other or both, in the finals every year except for the year that Detroit beat Portland. So
Now you lost your mind.
How you figure I lost my mind? Think about what you're saying, Ruben.
You lost your mind.
All right, Ruben. You speaking?
Hey, we're talking to Ruben.
You speaking as a Lakers fan, and cut the crap.
No, I'm speaking as a fan of the NBA.
Let me make my point then, and then you make your little simple point. And then,
simple.
Yeah, simple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because anybody who doesn't think that these are the 2 best teams in the league, well, let me rephrase. Anybody who doesn't think that these are 2 of the best teams in the league who can't potentially meet in the finals at least the next couple of years, I think you're not paying attention to the league if you don't see that. You got the 2 best players in the league split on each of these 2 teams, and then you look around and you got their Robins to those Batmans are potentially other people who are in the top 5 best players in the league when you talk about Dwayne Wade and Russell Westbrook, potentially. So when you look at that, and then you throw in a guy like Harden who's gonna make his money. I don't know why he's a 6 man, but he is. But he's gonna make his money.
He plays better off the bench.
Fair enough. But then you got somebody like Chris Bosh, who this dude that made 7 All-Star games and still can't seem to garner any respect around the league.
He won't be in Miami, but maybe another year.
Okay, but even aside all that, assuming that the cores of the teams remain intact, why would you think that they wouldn't potentially? And I'm not saying that they will, because who knows? You still got, you know, Derrick Rose that's got to come back for Chicago. They might throw a monkey wrench in there. You still got Carmelo and Amari coming up in New York. They might throw a monkey wrench in there. That's just in the East. You always got to look at the Lakers because they're always going to be viable as long as Kobe is there. You know, San Antonio isn't quite the nail in quite in the coffin just yet. So you still got the possibilities of other teams coming in and taking those places. Only point I'm making that you so disrespectfully told me that I was wrong making is that these 2 teams could potentially be seeing each other again several times in the next 5 years. So Big Rube, the smartest man in the room, please tell me why I'm wrong. Because I just laid out to you why I'm right.
Well, I see that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that you gave me the ammunition to come back
Yeah,
at you.
please shoot me.
Okay, one.
Shoot me.
Let's just be honest. If Miami doesn't win it this year,
They're not breaking it up.
hold on. The chance of Bosh hanging out is slim. The reason why I say that is because, like you said yourself, Bosh has been disrespected since he's been in Miami.
He's under contract. What are you going to do, walk away?
Hey, man,
How you going to blow up a team that made the finals 2 years ago?
because until you get some real help for these three guys, they're not going to win. It's that simple. One, the East is terrible. The East is so terrible. The fact that they struggled with Indiana.
The East is not terrible.
First of all, the East
You're not
is
paying-
terrible.
you're not paying-
No, I'm paying a lot of attention. The East has been terrible for years.
They ain't been terrible this year.
If the East was terrible, then why is it that they've been talking about Boston for the last 4 years? Even Boston being old heads, and people were talking about, yeah, they may win it.
Yeah, why are we talking about? Why were we talking about Boston?
If we're talking about the terrible,
At the beginning of the playoffs, nobody was talking about Boston.
we talking about the East is so terrible. You had a team like Chicago who had their best player who didn't play most of the year due to injury, and they still had one of the best records, not just in the East, but in the league. Then you look at a team like the New York Knicks who battled through injuries all season. They battled through underachieving all season, and they still made the playoffs. You looking at a team like Indiana who has 0 stars other than Danny Granger, who still gave Miami a hell of a run because they're good. Not because the East is weak, but because they're good. And then, of course, Boston goes without saying. So I just gave you 5 teams, and we still ain't talked about Atlanta yet.
Yeah, but let's talk about Orlando.
We still ain't talking about Atlanta.
Let's talk about Philly.
We ain't talking about Orlando. We ain't talking about how Philly is one of the up and coming teams in the league.
Yeah.
with a good coach, and all they need is a little bit of time.
And they lost to a geriatric squad.
Yeah, this geriatric squad who had a bunch
Who
of
almost beat the Heat.
right. We talking about Hall of Famers with Rondo, who's on the path to the Hall of Fame.
Who's probably not going to be there next
Think about
year.
what you're saying, Ruben. Sometimes you be losing your damn mind.
Man,
Sometimes.
all I'm saying
Hey,
is,
bro, check this out. Let me throw something out there.
Go for it.
It was so terrible, right?
the East is terrible.
I just swept through the whole Eastern Conference playoffs.
Yeah, the playoff. Why did they swept through it? Because, man, Miami's not that good.
Okay, they played New York. I want to say it was 4-1. I believe Indiana, and I could be wrong.
4-2.
Listening, but it was like 4-2 if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was 4-2.
Boston, it was all the way down to Game 7. If in fact the Eastern Conference was that terrible, and Miami being the best team in the conference, wouldn't it behoove you to think that they would have had a much easier? It would have been a much easier way for them to get to the finals than what they did.
Let me put it to him
What you just said.
Let me put it to him one more time. One more thing. If the East is so terrible, the only team that took Miami to 7 games was the only team they played that wasn't ravaged by injuries. Because they beat up on the Knicks, ravaged by injuries. They were able to get past Indiana because their best player went down with an injury. They played against a full-strength Boston Celtics team, and they took them to the 15th round.
You know what the full-strength Boston Celtics team that played 2 Game 7s in the playoffs? They played the most games in the playoffs.
Players.
I mean,
They had all their players.
What are you talking about? Ray Allen was hurt most of the playoffs.
Played, right?
But he was hurt.
Yeah, but
so what?
Yeah, but you still had Kevin Garnett. You still had Paul Pierce.
Yeah, but without Ray Allen, that team has nothing.
Come on, man.
Man, you're not going to sit here and do this.
Yeah,
no.
I did.
Whatever,
And
man.
the only thing that's terrible in the East is LeBron and that big ass handstand that he got. That's the only thing.
Man, we are going.
All I'm saying is, let's see, Philly, what, barely 500? I'm just saying, man. Numbers don't lie. Records don't lie. And the East is whack.
We're gonna have to leave it there. We're gonna come back. We're gonna come back to it because
All of it.
it's definitely spirited. We've come
In New York.
We've come to the 8 o'clock hour, and we're gonna stick to our time schedule. In the 8 o'clock hour, we do move on to our socially conscious and entertainment hour. So that's what we're gonna do, K-Dub. We're gonna let you go. We're gonna leave it right there. Ain't no hashtag.
Shout out to everybody listening, man.
Shout out. Word up. Peace to all the stars and squares, K-Dub. Hey, yo, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do a missing child. We're going to go into what the hell. What the hell is going on? Ain't no hashtag at Marcus J. Be back in a minute.
When I rock with the instrumental, who am I? The green-eyed bandit. Control my career so I can